Welcome back to my channel, The Coins World. Today's video is going to be very amazing. You need to watch the complete video and don't miss any part. So, without wasting any time, let's watch the video. Imagine reaching into an old coin jar, pulling out an ordinary-looking quarter, and discovering that one tiny detail could make collectors stop and look twice. Today we're talking about the 1995 D Washington quarter dollar, a coin that millions of Americans handled without giving it a second thought. But certain exceptional examples, rare errors, and extraordinary high-grade pieces can attract serious collector attention. Some online listings have even attached eye-catching, asking prices reaching as high as $293,000. If you have a 1995 D quarter, it might turn the tables for you. So stick around because we're going to explore what makes this coin interesting, what details you should check, and how collectors determine whether a quarter is ordinary or potentially valuable. And stay until the end for the price discussion and how you can sell your coin. The 1995 D Washington quarter was struck at the Denver Mint, which is why you will find the small letter D on the coin. At first glance, there is nothing particularly unusual about it. George Washington appears on the obverse, while the familiar American eagle dominates the reverse. This was the classic Washington quarter design used long before the state quarters program transformed American pocket change. More than 1.1 billion 1995 D Washington quarters were produced, so the date itself is not rare. That is extremely important to understand. Finding a 1995 D quarter does not automatically mean you have a coin worth thousands of dollars. Most circulated examples remain common and are generally worth around their face value. The excitement begins when a particular coin has something that separates it from the enormous number of ordinary examples. One of the first things collectors examine is condition. Think about what normally happens to a quarter after leaving the mint. It falls into cash registers, vending machines, pockets, drawers, jars, and bankrolls. It collides with other coins thousands of times. Every scratch, mark, and bit of wear can reduce its appeal. Now imagine finding a 1995 D quarter that somehow escaped almost all of that damage. Its original mint luster remains strong. Washington's portrait looks exceptionally clean, and the eagle on the reverse retains crisp detail. Coins preserved at extremely high. Mint state grades can be dramatically more desirable than heavily circulated pieces. This is why professional grading can matter. Grading companies evaluate factors such as surface preservation, strike quality, luster, eye appeal, and evidence of wear. Two quarters carrying exactly the same date and mint mark can have very different market values because one may be circulated while another survives in an exceptional grade. But condition isn't the only thing worth checking. More dramatic examples, especially those retaining a readable date and mint mark, can attract significant collector interest. You should also inspect the coin for die cracks or die chips. Dies experience enormous pressure while striking coins, and as they deteriorate, cracks or broken areas can transfer unusual raised features onto the finished quarter. Larger and more dramatic examples are generally more interesting to error collectors than tiny, common imperfections. There's another factor that many beginners completely overlook: originality. Never polish or aggressively clean a potentially valuable quarter. Cleaning may make a coin look brighter, but collectors and professional grading services can often detect altered surfaces. Original mint luster and naturally preserved surfaces are major components of collector appeal. This leads us to perhaps the biggest factor of all: grade. Professional grading uses the Sheldon scale, which runs up to mint state 70 for circulation-type coins. A circulated 1995 D quarter and an extraordinary mint state example can belong to completely different markets. At the highest grades, tiny differences matter. One small scratch on Washington's cheek, a contact mark in an important area, weaker strike quality, or impaired luster can separate one grade from another. And when only a tiny number of coins survive at an elite level, collectors may compete aggressively for the finest examples. That's why you should never judge a potentially important coin from photographs alone. If you believe you've discovered an exceptional 1995 D Washington quarter, compare it with authenticated examples and consider having it examined by a reputable coin dealer or professional grading service. Certification can establish authenticity, identify important varieties or errors, and determine the coin's condition. And now we come to the number you've been waiting for. Under exceptional circumstances, rare varieties, major errors, or extraordinary top-grade examples associated with this coin can be discussed at values reaching around $293,000. But remember, that does not mean every 1995 D Washington quarter is worth $293,000. Ordinary circulated examples are generally worth dramatically less. The exact value depends on authenticity, condition, grade, error type, rarity, and current collector demand. So don't immediately spend that old quarter sitting in your collection. Check the 1995 date, find the D mint mark, examine both sides under magnification, and pay particular attention to doubling, striking errors, die cracks, original luster, and unusually clean surfaces. Because sometimes the difference between ordinary pocket change and a serious collector coin can be hidden in details most people never bother to examine. And if you have a 1995 D Washington quarter and want to know its possible price and how you can sell it, comment price. A single 5-cent coin has shocked collectors by being linked to eye-catching asking prices and exceptional auction results that reach as high as $551,000 for the rarest examples. That is why thousands of people have started searching through old jars, inherited collections, and forgotten coin albums looking for one specific coin, the 1964 D Jefferson Nickel. If you have ever saved old pocket change or know someone who has, this ordinary-looking nickel could completely change the way you look at spare coins. Stay with me until the end, because I will also explain what makes certain examples so valuable and reveal how you can find out whether yours deserves professional attention. The 1964 D Jefferson Nickel was struck at the Denver Mint during one of the busiest years in American coin production. Billions of nickels were made that year because the United States was experiencing a coin shortage, and the mint worked around the clock to keep coins flowing into circulation. At first glance, that sounds like the opposite of rarity. If billions were produced, why would anyone pay an incredible amount for one? The answer is simple. Collectors are not paying extraordinary prices for just any 1964 D Jefferson Nickel. They are searching for coins with exceptional preservation, remarkable strike quality, rare die varieties, and unique minting characteristics that separate them from the millions of ordinary examples. The smallest difference can transform a common nickel into one of the most desirable modern collectibles. The first thing you should do is check the reverse of the coin. Look beneath Monticello for the large letter D. That's small. Mint mark confirms the coin was struck in Denver. While the mint mark alone does not make the coin valuable, it is the starting point for identifying the correct issue. Next, examine the overall condition. Most surviving examples have scratches, dull surfaces, worn details, and damaged edges because they circulated for decades. Collectors pay the highest premiums for coins that appear almost untouched. Sharp details on Jefferson's hair, clear lettering, strong steps on Monticello, and brilliant original luster are all signs that your coin deserves a closer look. One of the biggest factors collectors study is the strike. During the high-speed production of 1964, many nickels were weakly struck. Coins with unusually crisp details stand out immediately. The stronger the strike, the greater the collector interest becomes, especially when the coin has remained in outstanding condition for more than 60 years. Another important feature is the famous full steps designation. If the steps leading up to Monticello remain complete and uninterrupted, professional grading companies may recognize the coin with this highly respected designation. Only a small percentage of surviving coins qualify because even tiny imperfections can prevent the full steps label from being awarded. That is one reason certified If the next 1982 Lincoln 1-cent coin you find in your pocket or an old coin jar could be connected to an astonishing value of $184,000. It sounds unbelievable, but the 1982 Lincoln penny is one of the most fascinating modern American coins because it was produced during a year of major change at the United States Mint. That single change created multiple varieties, and today collectors carefully examine every 1982 penny they find. If you have one of these coins, don't skip this video, because by the end you'll understand why this year is so important, what details collectors search for, and I'll also tell you something important about finding out its value and how you can sell it. The year 1982 marked one of the biggest turning points in the history of the Lincoln cent. Rising copper prices forced the United States Mint to change the composition of the penny from mostly copper to a zinc core with a thin copper coating. During this transition, several different combinations of large dates, small dates, copper composition, zinc composition, and multiple mint marks were produced. Because of these variations, the 1982 Lincoln penny became one of the most closely studied coins in modern American coin collecting. At first glance, every 1982 penny looks almost identical. Abraham Lincoln appears on the obverse, while the Lincoln Memorial is featured on the reverse. Most people spend these coins without giving them a second thought. However, experienced collectors know that tiny differences in the date style, the weight, the metal composition, and the mint mark can make one coin far more desirable than another. If you own a 1982 Lincoln penny, the first step is to identify whether it has a large date or a small date. This is one of the most important details collectors examine. Next, check for the mint mark. Coins may have no mint mark, indicating Philadelphia, a D mint mark for Denver, or an S mint mark for San Francisco proof issues. Each combination has its own level of rarity and collector interest. Another critical step is weighing the coin. A copper 1982 penny weighs about 3.11 grams, while a zinc version weighs about 2.5 grams. That tiny difference has become one of the easiest ways for collectors to separate valuable varieties from common examples. Many serious collectors keep a precise digital scale specifically for examining 1982 pennies because the weight can reveal information that cannot always be seen with the naked eye. Collectors also inspect these coins for genuine mint errors. Look carefully for doubled lettering, die cracks, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, broad strikes, or other unusual production characteristics. Every verified mint error tells part of the story of how the coin was made, and some of these mistakes have become highly sought after by collectors. Condition is equally important. A heavily worn penny that has circulated for decades usually attracts far less attention than a coin that still displays sharp details, original mint luster, and minimal wear. Professional grading services carefully evaluate these qualities, and the highest graded examples often become the most desirable pieces in the collector market. One of the biggest mistakes people make is cleaning old pennies. Although polishing may seem like a way to improve their appearance, it often reduces collector value because it damages the original surface. Experienced collectors almost always prefer untouched coins with their natural finish intact. If you think your 1982 Lincoln penny could be special, leave it exactly as you found it until it has been professionally examined. Remarkable discoveries continue to happen every year. Valuable pennies have been found inside old piggy banks, inherited collections, forgotten coin albums, bankrolls, estate sales, and even everyday pocket change. These stories remind collectors that extraordinary finds are still possible for anyone willing to take a closer look. Earlier I mentioned that a 1982 Lincoln 1 cent has been associated with values as high as $184,000 in certain online listings and auction discussions. It is important to understand that such extraordinary figures apply only to extremely rare examples, with verified authenticity, exceptional condition, or significant mint errors. Most 1982 Lincoln pennies are worth only a small amount above face value, which is why every coin should be carefully examined before estimating its value. Now we've reached the part you've been waiting for. You're probably wondering how much your own 1982 Lincoln 1 cent is worth and where you can sell it if it turns out to be valuable. Instead of revealing everything here, comment the word price in the comment section, along with clear photos of both sides of your coin and, if possible, its weight. I'll help estimate its potential value, explain the selling procedure, and guide you toward the safest way to connect with genuine collectors. If you enjoyed learning how an ordinary penny can hide an extraordinary story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video, because your next valuable coin could already be waiting in your pocket. Have you ever ignored a penny because it looked too ordinary to matter? What if that simple 1-cent coin could be connected to a value of as much as $189,000? It sounds unbelievable, but the 1982 Lincoln penny has become one of the most discussed modern U.S. coins among collectors. While most examples are worth only face value, a small number of exceptional, authenticated pieces have attracted extraordinary attention in the rare coin market. If you have a 1982 Lincoln penny, it might turn the tables for you. So stay until the end of this video because you'll learn why collectors search for this coin, what makes certain examples so desirable, and how people sell valuable coins through trusted auctions and online marketplaces. The story of the 1982 Lincoln penny begins during one of the most important years in the history of American coinage. In the early 1980s, the United States was facing rising inflation and increasing metal prices. Producing the 1-cent coin was becoming more expensive, and the U.S. Mint had to make significant changes to keep the penny in circulation. That year marked a major transition in the manufacturing of the Lincoln cent, making 1982 one of the most fascinating dates for modern coin collectors. Although billions of pennies were produced, very few people realized they were holding a small piece of American history in their hands. The Lincoln cent had already been part of everyday American life for more than 70 years. Since its introduction in 1909, it had honored President Abraham Lincoln and became one of the most recognized coins in the country. By 1982, these pennies passed through millions of cash registers every day. Children saved them in piggy banks, parents dropped them into jars, and businesses counted them by the thousands. They quietly entered circulation and became so common that most people never stopped to examine them closely. That is exactly why some remarkable examples remained hidden in plain sight for decades. Collectors today study the 1982 Lincoln penny more carefully than almost any other modern cent because this year represents an important transition in U.S. mint production. Specialists examine details such as the coin's composition, weight, strike quality, overall preservation, and the style of the date. Most coins from 1982 are completely ordinary, but a small number display characteristics that make experienced collectors take a much closer look. These coins are carefully authenticated and graded, because even the smallest difference can have a significant impact on collector demand. Condition is another major reason why values vary so dramatically. A heavily circulated 1982 Lincoln penny that has spent decades in everyday use usually carries little more than face value. However, coins that remained untouched in exceptional condition are much harder to find. Professional grading services evaluate every detail, from the sharpness. The highest graded examples are extremely scarce, and when they appear in major auctions, collectors often compete aggressively to own them. This intense competition is what drives extraordinary prices. Over the years, exceptional certified examples have appeared through respected auction companies, where competitive bidding pushed values to astonishing levels. One remarkable example has been associated with a value of up to $189,000, demonstrating how rarity, outstanding preservation, and strong collector demand can transform an ordinary-looking penny into an extraordinary collectible. It is important to remember that this value applies only to a very specific authenticated example, not to every 1982 Lincoln penny found in circulation. The growing popularity of online marketplaces has also made rare coins more accessible to collectors around the world. Platforms such as eBay regularly feature 1982 Lincoln pennies, but experienced buyers know that asking prices and actual selling prices are often very different. Serious collectors usually look for coins that have been certified by trusted grading companies such as PCGS or NGC because authentication provides confidence in both the coin's condition and its authenticity. Major auction houses and established numismatic marketplaces also remain popular, places where exceptional coins achieve their strongest prices. If you think you have a 1982 Lincoln penny that deserves a closer look, the most important thing you should never do is clean it. Cleaning can permanently damage the original surface and reduce collector value. Handle the coin only by its edges and store it in a protective holder until it can be properly examined. Many valuable coins have lost significant value simply because someone tried to make them look newer before having them professionally evaluated. Searching through old coin collections has become an exciting hobby because remarkable discoveries still happen. Families continue to uncover forgotten jars of pennies